Hello everybody, and welcome to a series I'm calling Path to Plat. The idea behind this series is that I, as an unranked player, am going to be attempting to learn to the point where I reach the rank of Platinum. There's going to be a lot of mistakes along the way, and that's exactly what I'm trying to showcase. And I'm hoping it'll be both informative and entertaining for those of you that watch. If you notice mistakes that I don't, feel free to let me know. It only helps me along my way. And if you don't understand plays I make or why a particular play was a mistake, go ahead and let me know as well, and I'll do my best to explain, because I want to help any of you that are trying to go along the same journey along that journey as well. And if you just want to watch and be entertained, well, I'm very happy to have you here along the journey with me, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so today I'm going to be playing an actual aggro deck. It's based around spiders, using Elise as its only champion because of her synergy with them, as well as their synergy with each other. One of the particular strengths that this deck has is that most spiders have Fearsome on them. Not all of them do, but a lot of them do, which makes, especially early game, your opponent having something that's going to have the power to deal with it and then the health to stay afterwards very, very difficult, because usually you're going to have to play something with high power and low health in order to deal with those Fearsomes. And then you add on top of that the Frenzied Skitterer from turn 3 onwards, where you can, anything that is right on that threshold of having 3 attack, you can easily bring below for your own attack, which is really, I think, one of the things that has made me love this card, is because it can be used both offensively and defensively. You can use it to reduce the damage that would be coming into you, but you can also use it to stop your enemy from blocking, or at least blunt the amount that they're going to be blocking, which in my opinion makes this card very, very useful, and one of the core things that has made this deck as strong as it is, alongside Fading Memories, because a lot of the really strong turning points in the game come from you being able to double drop something with this. It has some familiar burn in it, which are the things that you tend to Fading Memories, but there are some of the more situational things. You got Legion Saboteur, you have Imperial Demolitionist, Doom Beast, Noxian Fervor, and Decimate as your burn in here. Alongside the Doom Beast, the Demolitionist, and the Saboteur that you're going to want to be Fading Memories, you also have Arachnoid Sentry for the stun, Frenzied Skitterer, as I mentioned before. But even sometimes it's something as simple as your Stygian Onlooker. Sometimes even Fading Memoriesing that is what you need. So there is a lot of potential and a lot of versatility to this deck, especially for an aggro deck, which I think is going to make it pretty entertaining to watch. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so this first game I made a couple of mistakes. The first one was when I used my Stalking Shadows, I select the Arachnoid Horror instead of either of the 1-drops. I think in particular, the Stygian Onlooker would have been the correct choice here, especially because it combos really well with the Fading Memories. It's a 4-1 instead of the 3-2 when I can activate its Nightfall. And given on an attack, it's not really going to matter that 1 extra health, because if it doesn't get blocked because of the Fearsome, it doesn't get blocked. And that's really just how it is, and that 1 extra damage is worth it because it's cheaper anyway. Aside from that, I also elect to summon 2 pretty much useless 1/1s and sacrifice my potential to summon an Elise if my current one dies. Which, when I attack, I could have had 2 extra 3/2s there. In fact, I actually could have had a third 3/2 or 4/1s in the case of if I had chosen the Stygian Onlooker. So there's quite a bit of missed damage on this swing. So this one is from a mirror matchup where I made one little mistake, and it really goes to show how one mistake against a deck with the exact same cards as you can really be the difference between winning and losing, because I elected to play that other spider instead of my Elise, and I can actually hear myself in the recording saying I don't want to block her with herself. But the thing is I don't want to block her at all. She isn't the threat. Until she levels up, she's not really a threat herself. What I wanted to block was that 1/1 she was going to summon. That was the only thing I was even remotely worried about. I should have played my own Elise so that I could have banked up and played more spiders for myself. It's actually because of this that he ends up keeping his Elise, keeping the spiders it summons, and leveling her up and beating me into submission by the end of the game. In this one, I have the right idea, but I missed the mark by quite a bit here. I play the Frenzied Skitterer with the idea of stopping that 3-3 from being able to block any of my Fearsomes, when in reality the stun would have been better, because if I'm only stopping one thing from attacking, the stun achieves that as well, and it also stops it from being able to block any of my non-Fearsomes. So in reality I should have played that stun and then saved the Skitterer for a different turn. This one's pretty cut and dry. I'm not entirely certain why I didn't, because I can actually see myself hovering over the card, potentially thinking about it, but I should have played Fervor on the Spiderling that the Lysandra is blocking. It was going to die anyway, it wasn't even going to deal damage to her because she had Tough, and I could have gotten that 3 damage in on the Nexus. I ended up playing Decimate this turn, but I could have just done that a different turn, because it's going to be the same amount of damage regardless of what turn I play it on. When I do end up actually using the Noxian Fervor, I use it here when he tries to drain 1 from my unit here. This kills my unit, essentially sacrificing it when it wouldn't have died in the first place in an attempt to kill him. And he does burn some mana and a card, stopping me from doing that by using the Entomb on it, which is nice. That does get that potential removal out of his hand, but the thing is I still don't have any way to kill him on this turn. And it's important to remember that he healed 3 last turn and he was going to heal 1 this turn, which means that while it was a good play because it did stop him from doing that, ultimately that 4 that I wrought him to after combat on the previous turn was effectively always 8 because of that, unless I could do something to stop it. He would have been brought exactly to this 3 on the last turn if I had Noxian Fervored, because that 3 would have brought him to 1, and then he would have had to use his Catalyst of Beyonds like he did to bring himself back up to 4. And then I could have played my Decimate, and then he would have played this card, and he still would have been at 1. I do want to highlight something pretty clever that my opponent does here, and a misplay that I do in response to it. When I attempt to stun his 3 power unit, he memories it, which what it does is it sacrifices a unit and then revives it. So he uses it on itself, essentially, to bring it back, so that he has something to block my Fearsomes. But it is ephemeral. The new one that he summons is ephemeral. And because of this, he does this twice more because I have another stun in my hand, which is really good outplay, really nice interaction between those. But by swinging, I only let him use those ephemerals to kill my units, and there was really no reason to, especially when I had both Doom Beast and Decimate in hand, and I was going into a turn where I had 8 mana, meaning I could have played both of them. I could have used the Decimate to activate the Doom Beast, and then going into the turn 9 with enough, I would have had this exact same 4 on turn plus my Doom Beast, and I would have been able to swing. And if I couldn't do that 1 just from that, then I probably would have lost anyway. I'm a little too greedy here with my controlling my opponent's board. This is the first thing he's played the entire game, and sure, it does have Challenger, and it's got that 2 damage, so it could pull in either of my 3/2s and kill them. But the thing is, he's playing a deck with Fiora in it, and I really should have saved that stun for Fiora, because she can be very dangerous when you don't control her. Later on in the same game, I got a little sure of myself here. My opponent makes a mistake, and I'm pretty sure I've won. See, he's wasted all of his mana, which I was waiting for him to do something. I could have played my Decimate right there. I could have won, and I only realized it after I hit past turn. Luckily, though, once he starts attacking, I realize I do still have my Noxian Fervor. He still has no mana. There's nothing he can possibly do about it. So I assign my blockers, and I throw my Noxian Fervor out and kill him with that. But the thing is that could have easily not gone down that way. So this one's pretty systematic of an issue I've had playing this game in general, but especially with aggro decks, where I attack before I play any units on my turn, just so that my opponent doesn't have a chance to play anything to block. But with Fearsomes, that's a lot less of an issue, because if I had played one thing, if I had, for instance, Fading Memories and then played a Stygian Horror, I would have had another Fearsome. So that would have been 3 Fearsomes on the board, to which he would have had potentially 1 possible unit that he could have played to block it. So it really would have been worth my time to have done that, because I would have removed whatever that is, very likely, or he would have taken that extra 4. This one, it's a little bit hard to see, but I should have Fading Memories one of my Stygian Horrors and played it on this turn, because if you notice, he's being forced to take a minimum of 5 damage here, which would have been 7 if I had replaced that Spiderling with the Stygian Horror, which would have left him at 1. Any card that I drew on my next turn would have enabled Nightfall for my Doom Beast, which would have done 2 damage to him, which he could have healed or somehow gotten out of, but there is a lot of other burn in my deck, and I think that the chance of that was really worth sacrificing that 2-1. With this clip, I want to bring up the concept of counting minimum damage, because before I swung here, I knew that without Elise, my minimum damage against him was going to be that 6, bringing him to 5. I chose not to swing with the Elise because for whatever reason, I thought that protecting her was still important, even though my opponent would be this close to death. But if I had swung with her, that would have been an extra 2 damage, dropping him to 3. Luckily, he really messes up his blocks here, I think trying to protect his own units, meaning that he's still within decimate range, but I could have brought him in, I could have forced him within decimate range if I had attacked with my Elise, because it wouldn't have mattered if she had died, because that extra 2 damage would have been worth it. So this last game is another mirror match, and I definitely learned my lesson, because the first thing I do is I mulligan my late game burn, because I remember that against a mirror matchup, especially with an aggro deck, you want early game. You want to get that lead, and you want to keep it against them. This right here really cements why I love Frenzied Skitterer as a card, is because it itself is fearsome here, and it enables me to make this play where my other 2 cards on board are also fearsome, meaning that once I remove his Arachnoid Horror's 1 damage, he can't block with anything, so I just get a free 10 damage on him here. This one here I'm pretty proud of, because my opponent, I know that he's got that ephemeral that he's going to try and block with, and I essentially act like I don't have anything else in my hand to play, so I'm just going to swing. I make it look a little bit desperate here, and once he blocks with that ephemeral, whichever one he chooses to block with, then I play my Noxian Fervor, because that ephemeral is going to die at the end of the turn, and it would have killed that anyway, so I essentially just get that 3 damage that it would have done if it hit him anyway. And then this next turn I do something pretty similar, where I not only just pass my turns, I actually play something to make it look like maybe I don't have the burn to do that extra 2 to him in hand, even though I do have that decimate. Just in case there's something that he could potentially do to stop it, and then I wait until he's down to 3 mana there, I go, nothing he can do, I play my decimate. Alright, and with that mirror match redemption, that's just about everything that I have today. I had a lot of fun playing this deck, partly because it's so strong, but because it's so strong, I won about 8 of the 10 games that I played, which I never thought that would be a bad thing, but it made it a little difficult to find the games where I wanted to find out exactly what I had done wrong, but it did force me to go through wins and find where I could have won maybe a little bit more assuredly, more efficiently, where if it hadn't been as easy, I still could have won, which is definitely a good skill set to have with that. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed making it, and go ahead and drop a like and a subscribe if you did. I intend on putting out quite a bit more, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Well played. Well played, man. Well played, man.
Too easy.
Good game, man. And that's why you conserve your mana. There's absolutely nothing he can do. Not bad.